Kanban boards. If you've ever heard of the concept of a Kanban board, it's a great way to visualize your tasks or projects or different kinds of ideas or information. Traditionally, you've constructed a Kanban board in a tool like Trello or Notion, but today I'm going to show you how to make one inside of Obsidian. Hey folks, my name is Justin with Effective Remote Work. Today we're going to take a look at how to build a personal Kanban board inside of Obsidian using the Dataview plugin. Okay, up on my screen you can see that I've got the GitHub repository open for the Obsidian Dataview plugin. This is a really innovative tool because it essentially allows you to query your database of notes, your vault of notes, which is just plain text, using a MySQL style query. So you can see down here that you're looking to create a table of notes with these fields, time played, length, and rating, from the folder games, sorting by the rating in a descending value, which gets you the output just like this. You get a link to the note, the time that you played the game, the length that you played, and then your rating. So this is just an example in the GitHub repository, but it gets you a general overall idea of what could be possible with the Obsidian Dataview plugin. Now, there's a million different ways that you could use this plugin. I'm going to show you one way to use it today, and that's building a personal Kanban board. So let's hop over to Obsidian and start setting it up so that we can get this going. Okay, Obsidian, blank note here. I'm going to open up settings. The first thing that we need to do is go under community plugins and browse. Then we're going to search for Dataview. Here we go, and install that. Now, if this is the first time that you're installing a community plugin, you're going to get a warning that pops up on the screen because you need to disable safe mode, which prevents community plugins from being able to be installed or run. This is for your protection because there could be code inside of these plugins that could run that is malicious. Haven't seen any examples of that yet, so you're safe, more than likely to turn that off, but just so you're aware, that's what that warning is for. Now that we have the Dataview plugin installed, I'm going to enable it, close this modal, see it's enabled here. That's pretty cool. I'm going to turn on the advanced tables plugin too, because we could do some nifty stuff with that later. Advanced tables is a great plugin if you're looking at building markdown tables because it gives you some nice tools to easily work with them. So kind of some of the things that we need for building a Kanban board. If you're familiar with Kanban, it's basically you have a process flow that a piece of information will go through, whether that's a project, a task, or something of that sort. So there's usually in a traditional Kanban board, which is what we're going to build today, there's a to-do column, a doing column, and a done column. Now under to-do, this is where your entire list of to-dos goes. So this is, say maybe I have a make a Dataview video. Then I need to build a planter box. Then I need to fix a bug in my code. So on and so forth. You could build a Kanban view like this manually by something of this sort, but we're going to automate this out. Now, in personal Kanban, which is a methodology, there's kind of two main ideas to it, which are to visualize your tasks or projects, and then limit in progress work. This is the kind of the key focus, I think, for personal Kanban is in this doing column, you probably don't want any more than like 3 to 5 active items at any one time because you can only juggle so much. Your mind can only handle so much. If you start doing more than that, you really start veering into multitasking instead of focused work. If you keep your doing column to like 3 to 5 items, and when you move them in there, you're doing really well. So now how are we going to build this inside of Obsidian? Well, it all starts with an individual node. So I'm going to say project nodes. Now, because the way I'm thinking about building this for myself is I like to keep a high level view of projects that I have going on. I use another tool to manage my day-to-day individual tasks, so I'm not going to get that granular in this. If you're looking to get more granular, maybe this isn't the correct approach for you. You might want to consider doing something else, because you're going to need to create a note for each project or each item that you want to show up inside of the Kanban board. There are some other ways you can use the Dataview plugin to pull task lists, which is pretty cool, but we're not going to cover those in today's video. So first things first, we need to understand a little bit more about what makes Dataview so powerful. I'm going to create a new note here, and I'm just going to say this is a test project. So the reason that Dataview is so powerful is it has the ability to query from YAML front matter that you add to your Obsidian notes. To do that, you just start your note with 3 dashes, and then you end that block with 3 dashes. It just kind of tells Obsidian, hey, the content that's between these dashes, these lines of dashes, is YAML front matter. So included YAML front matter in Obsidian, you can add tags and then aliases. I'm not going to cover aliases today, but tags are going to be very important. And then you can also add custom front matter too. So for a test project or a project template that we would create, we can say we want this tagged with the word project. So if I go over here into my tag pane, which I have to turn on real quick, under core plugins and tag pane, turn that on, I'll open the tags. You can see now that I have this tagged project. If I remove that, it goes away, because we're going to use this tag to query all of the project notes inside of our vault. Some other helpful information that you might want to query off of a project is status. We'll need that one for sure, because we'll have status items that will be either to do, doing, or done. We're just going to leave this blank for now, because then we can fill this in later. Instead of being a test project, I'm just going to create a project template. And then we can use the templater plugin to apply this to new notes in the future. So we have tags, which tells us this is a project, status, which tells us the status of this project so we can properly filter those. And then you can add lots of different other metadata if you like as well. You can add a completed if you want to track when you completed something. You can add a link to your task manager if you're tracking granular tasks for this project somewhere else. So you could say things, if you're using things, you can add a link to things there. I'll show you a cool hack for that. So we'll leave that in for a minute. And then there are lots of other items that you can include. Another one that you might find helpful is priority. So you can just do 1 to 5, 1 being highest priority, 5 being the lowest, and then you can use that to sort your items when we build the Kanban list later. So we're going to use this as just kind of a base project template to get us started. So your project name would be the name of the note, and then this information will be what Dataview uses to pull in the list of projects for each type of status, so we can create that Kanban board. Now the caveat here too is that you're not going to be able to just drag and drop cards, as they're called in the Kanban, to a different status line. You'll have to go into each note and actually change this status item so that it properly reflects the current status. However, it is something that might be able to be leveraged differently in some kind of a plugin. I guess we'll just kind of have to see what the community decides to do with that. Okay, so we have a project template created. The next thing we want to do is actually make it a template. So I'm going to make sure under core plugins that the templates plugin is turned on. It's not, so it's right here. Turn that on. I think if I'm going to use a template, I'm going to need to create a folder for that. Yep. New folder. We'll just do 999 templates. It's kind of my favorite name scheme for that because it just keeps them all together. I'll move that project template into the templates folder. Then I'm going to go back into settings under templates, and we're going to just configure that folder as the templates location. What that does is when we press Command P, So open up our command palette and say template, insert template. Well, we don't want to do that here because it inserts it in our current note because it's our only template. It does allow you to pull from a list of templates that's in that folder. Okay, now let's go back to our example of this Kanban board. What we want to do is take these projects here and try to translate them into notes inside of Obsidian. I'm going to create a new note next to this one, and I'm going to say make a Dataview video, and then I'm going to go template, insert template. There we go. I'm going to say this one is doing, and then things. I'll show you this in a little bit. This is high priority number 1 because it's the thing that I'm currently working on. Cool. Then I'm going to make another new note, and I'm going to say build planter box, make that the title, do the same thing, template. This one is to do. This one's priority 4. It's not super important, but it's definitely something I want to get done this spring. Again, another new note, fix a bug in my code. Okay. Probably not a project, but you get the idea. This one is to do. Priority is 2. It's not urgent, but it's definitely something I want to get done sooner. Okay, so now we're ready to start building our data view. To build a data view, you use the code block syntax similar to what you would do with like a Mermaid.js chart, which we've talked about in some videos on the channel here, except you name it data view. And there are a few different types of data views that you can pull. If we head back to the documentation, you can pull a table like this, which is probably the one we're going to use. You can pull a list, which you really don't get much metadata with this. I think you can add 1 extra field to it, no more than that. So not entirely what we want to work on or look at today, but you can pull a list, a dynamic list into a note, and you can pull a list of tasks. So if you have, say, a list of projects, if you wanted to go this route, you could query tasks from the tag projects, and then it'll give you a list of these main projects and then the tasks, open tasks or closed tasks, done tasks that list out underneath of them. Today, we're going to focus solely on the table view because this is the most useful for the Kanban approach. You can add multiple data points to the table so you can see it a little bit more clearly. So that's what we're going to do today. And if I can get back to the right view. So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at our columns. So we want to create a to-do column. Okay, so we're going to create a table with what do we want to pull into from this data. Now we're looking at these fields here, and we can pull these directly in. We don't want necessarily to pull our status in because that's going to be implied in the column that it's already in. If we have a link to things, we can pull that in. Let's start off by just pulling in the priority. So we're going to table priority. This will also show us the file name and the priority in a column next to it. Then we're going to say from, then you can choose either a directory over here, which is just in quotes. So I could choose from 999 templates. Not going to do that. I could do a tag, which I'm going to do from project. Let's click that. So this will select all notes from that are tagged project, and it will add them to this table. And then we'll see what happens. Let's just do that really quick. All right, so we have all of these, which is cool. But it pulls in everything, not just our to-do items. That's where this status comes in and is really handy. Okay, so what we want to do is say where and then status equals, and in quotes, to do. So what this says is that when status equals to do, we're only going to pull those items in. So if we go back into preview mode, you can see now we only have build a planter box and fix a bug in my code. But they're not ordered properly. Instead, what we want to do is order them from 1 to 5 instead of from 5 to 1, or just a random order. we want this to be intentional because we want the highest priority items in our to-do list on our Kanban column to actually reflect the priority. So to do that, the next thing we're going to do is sort, and then we're going to say priority, and then we're going to say ascending. ASC is short code for ascending. So if we do that, we should see fix a bug in my code at the top, and then build a planter box underneath of that. And there we go. That's it. So now you have file over here. This one's kind of goofy, and I haven't quite figured out how to change that one. But you can come over here and you can also rename this column. By default, it just goes by this name, but you can set an alias by using the keyword as. So you can say priority as priority or severity or whatever you want to rename it as. I'm just going to do the capital letter one because it's just a little bit cleaner. So you can see that that's changed. Very, very handy. So we've built our first column, the to-do column. I'm going to repeat this for the next 2 columns, and then I'll come back to the video and show you what I've done. Okay, so all I've done is basically copied these queries, and then I have just changed this line here, the where line, where status is, instead of saying to do, under the doing column, I'm picking doing. And under the done column, I'm looking for done. So I'm gonna hit edit view. So now you can see under to do, I have these items here, fix a bug in my code, build a planter box. Doing shows make a Dataview video, priority 1, and priority, or down here under the done column, it's saying that the Dataview query returned 0 results. Well, that's because we haven't actually created any project or notes that have the status of done yet. So just for fun, I'm going to create a new note, say make desk vlog, and I'm going to use that same template. And I'm going to put status as done, priority 1, just for fun. Okay, so you can see now that this has updated. Make desk vlog, done, cool. So it's under that column. You can see it dynamically updated there. If you do sometimes run into issues where it's not updating like that, you might have to fully close out of the note and then reopen it again, and then reopen preview mode for those changes to reflect. Okay, so we can do a little bit to pretty this up. I actually just tried to do add these queries inside of a markdown table, which did not work at all. Sorry about that. But one thing you can do is you can just split these up by headings. So you can, I don't want an H1, maybe an H3 for each one of these. Okay, we'll just delete these notes down here to doing. I'll put this in quotes. This is just a reminder to limit the work in progress. And then I'm gonna take a look at that. Okay, to do, doing, done. Maybe we do want an H2 there just to kind of delineate these a little bit better. That's kind of nice. If you wanted to, you could come in and do some CSS fancy styling to make this look a little bit nicer than what it is out of the box. One thing else that you could do here too is, I guess, I don't know if I would select priority as done, but we don't really have another field to select here. I can't just select from project under the table. I actually have to pick a field, so I'll just leave priority there. One interesting thing though is, for structure-wise, you might want to have the doing column on the top just because we're not looking at columns that are next to each other. That's a traditional Kanban flow. You go from left to right, or from your view, it'd be this way. So instead, since we don't have that here, we're just going top to bottom. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move doing to the top and put to do underneath of that, just because it's a little bit easier to tell what's going on. So if I look at that, you can see I've got doing at the top, to do, and done. Pretty cool. All right, so from here, there's a nifty trick that I figured out the other day that you can actually add a link, a clickable link to an external task manager. This can be OmniFocus, Things, Todoist. If you can get any kind of a link to a project or a task inside of a task manager, you can add this into your note YAML front matter and be able to pull it in to get a clickable link via the Dataview plugin. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to, under the doing column, I'm not going to add this under to do or done because I don't need them. I need to get access to the tasks that I have on active projects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick things as tasks. So that'll rename that column as tasks. You can see that nothing shows up, but I do have that thing there. I'm going to quick pull up things. Okay, so I have grabbed the things link to link directly to the project for this Dataview video that I have in things right now. So if I click on this, you can see I'm still in Dataview. I really don't have much here for metadata. Now, if I paste this in, you can see I have this things ID here. What happens if we open the Kanban board up and take a look at that? Well, that's not exactly clickable. How do we make that clickable? That's a great question to ask. Well, there's two ways you can do it. You can surround it with angle brackets like this. And then I'm gonna have to close that and reopen it again, as we talked about earlier in the video. Now this is clickable, and this will take me directly into things, but this is really, really messy to look at. There's another different way that we can structure this. So I'm gonna remove this. Then I'm just literally going to add a markdown link in here. So I'm gonna add my angle brackets, parentheses around the things URL, and then in here, I am going to add an emoji. See, I'm gonna pick let's see. I'll just pick the book emoji, because that should make this emoji clickable so that I can go to this things external link. Let me close the Kanban board view and then open that up again. Go into preview mode. Now, oh, that's right. One thing I have to do this is I have to wrap it in quotes. I forgot that I had to do that. Then if I open and close the Kanban board view and do that again, look here, I have a fancy, clean link that points me directly to my project in things where the tasks for this project live. Now, this idea was kind of inspired by David Sparks' dashboard that he has. I like the Kanban board view a little bit better because it gives me a sense of status of where things are at, because I like to have that top level view of everything going on in my life. It helps me kind of manage the work that I have across all aspects of my life versus just in one little area, because it all matters together. Now, doing this though, it just gives me an easy way to have a high level place to go, and then I can drill into the specifics. Now, I can use this note to take notes on this project. I'm going to use Dataview to build a Kanban board in Obsidian. And then I can start to flesh out the ideas there. And if I click on my tasks note, then it'll open up things on the other screen to show you right what I have. Pretty nifty. I am pretty happy with how this has turned out. I haven't used this fully in production yet, but largely I wanted to just show it to you today so that you could get an idea of what's possible with the Dataview plugin and Obsidian. It's absolutely amazing the things that can be done in plain text if you're just given the right APIs. Well, that wraps things up for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you going to use something like this inside of Obsidian now that you know that it's possible and how to do this? I would love to hear how you're using the Dataview plugin to structure your data and access it in new ways. I'm Justin with Effective Remote Work. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next video.